Hello, everyone. Today is March 23rd, 2022. This is the Kubernetes Data Protection Working Group meeting. So today, Fang is going to do an update on the CBT work. And then, then we'll just take a quick look of the annual report. I think that's ready. And then there are a few open issues. Okay, Fang.
Yeah, so I can share my screen, but there's not much except for the document that we already been seeing. So you see my screen now?
Yeah.
So we discussed most about CBT discussion is either on Slack or in our private meetings with a few engineers. And we capture all of the meeting minutes on the document that you can see. We posted there on the Slack as well. You can see the document that we, like for this one is the meeting minutes. We have 2 meetings so far. And this one is the meeting of the later meeting, right? So the later one on March 18th. The idea that I just want to summarize what we've been discussing is that in the previous meeting with the Kubernetes community, I present the CBT service, and then there was some opinion from many people to propose that we should also have a second look at the approach that we use the CRD, the resource, instead of using a service. So after discuss with the engineer involved, we say, let's give it a try to see how it goes. Let's discuss to see if we can find a way to overcome the limitation of the CRD approach. The limitation that we trying to overcome is that the size of the the size of the CR on the Kubernetes API server would eventually, hogging the resource there, especially if we create a CR and it will be stored in the etcd. If that is the case, then it will eventually run out of space or hogging the resource there. So we discussed about a few ideas that to overcome that. And one of the way that we can we talk about is the aggravation, API aggravation. A lot of this still we still in exploring. We still haven't have any conclusion yet. So we just still researching. And there's a few engineers here proposing. I think one engineer proposing the I think it's Sean. He proposing. Like a workflow here, but again, it's still I mean not this one. Which one is it? I think we have a put. I think I'll put a link there somehow. Let me see if I have a link. Anyway, I will post a link. But Sean have proposing. I think. Let me see. I think he did have a link somewhere. I think here, this one. Sean proposing like a workflow on it, and again, this is just his proposal. We haven't talked much about it because he was not there in our last meeting. We can either talk now or maybe we continue in our next meeting. Another idea that we propose is we think that we should do like a prototype and just try to rough out all the idea to see if it actually works this way or not. And this proposal that I put here is we're gonna try to use like a CRD approach. That means that we want to create it's similar to any customer resource. Yeah, we create like a CRD with the spec. The spec is basically we simply just for this for the sake of this prototype, we just dump the API that we have in our document in this one, like we just take the request and put it in the spec, and the result will be put into the response. We'll put it in the status, and we add a little bit, a little bit here and there, so like state and error to see how it go. And if this one, if we create this one, then we should create like a controller to listen to that event, right? So the controller simply, when this CR object is created on the API server, then this controller will simply listen to it and call the, we're going to pick one of the storage, maybe PowerStore EMC or AWS or VMware EBS, right? Whoever implements this will pick one, right? And what we do is when we receive that CR object, right, if it is created, then we will call the different source snapshot API of the specific storage that we have at hand. Then we're going to translate the result into the format that we want here and respond it to, whoever listened to create this C object will wrap the response, right? So that is the very high level.
This controller is a sidecar?
Eventually, it will be a sidecar of the CSI driver. But for now, it is a prototype, right?
Yeah, I just want, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So and then we also proposing to create like a backup controller to employ this whole workflow here, right? So it will create a CR. It will wait for the controller to update the status, and it backing up the data according to the result. So that's the high level of the backup controller. The detail I put it here, but again, we're still in discussion. So I just want to give an update of what we have so far. And I want to point out that we in this prototype, we only focus on one scenario. That is this is a file system PVC with the block volume in the back end. So that way we can employ the CBT, right? The chain block tracking, right? The different source snapshot for block, right? Without the volume in the back end. For example, if it's a file system PVC with the NFS in the back end, then we cannot do anything. So we only focus on the file system PVC with the block back end, right? So that is my update for the CBT thing, for the CBT effort that we have. Again, we communicate with each other on Slack on this WG data protections channel. So if anyone who are interested in the project or want to contribute, just jump in and discuss there. I will try to schedule a meeting every week, usually on Friday. But again, it might be hard for everyone to participate, because I understand, for example, there's one engineer who really want to participate, but he's in India and the time is off, and so on and so forth. So it will be hard to accommodate anyone. So that's it for me.
Can you go back to that? Can you go back to your document?
Oh, the document, yeah, the meeting notes, right? Yeah.
Right. So the controller, the backup controller, so that's the one. Okay. Yeah, because you went a little quick. So this basically is doing the end-to-end backup.
Yeah, it's trying to do the end-to-end backup with this CBT service, with this CBT concept.
Yeah,
right?
But this one is the one that is going to also create the volume snapshot objects. That controller, who is creating volume snapshot?
Yes, it will create the volume snapshot objects. It will. Okay. It will. we were discussing about, whether we have also do the data mover here. But Dave, he mentioned that we should use some kind of an open source data mover. I haven't looked into that, to be honest.
So the flow would be, but okay, you also.
You want me to talk about the flow here? I can. Okay, let's just talk about this a little bit detailed, right? So basically, it will be a file system PVC, right? Mm-hmm. And then what we do is the controller, we will create a snapshot of that PVC. When we have that snapshot, what we do is we're gonna try to, because that's a block snapshot in the back end. What we do is we're gonna try to create a PVC block mode out of that snapshot, right? When we have the block snapshot, we will then, block PVC, we will then, if we do the full backup, we will then move all the block, backup all the block of that draw block device, right?
So
now with your
POC, okay, so the data move, are you going to use some data mover for this POC? Or
yes, yeah, we have to do some in this prototype, we're going to use some data mover.
Okay.
Or we have to implement one. It should be simple. It just should be copy block into a backend, into a backup storage.
Okay.
And then now with the CBT, right? At this point, we're going to create an object, a CR object with this format here, right? If we already have a previous snapshot, right, we're going to specify the snapshot base here and the current snapshot and volume ID and so on and so forth. And start offset will be 0 and so on and so forth. And then we will create that object. And this controller at that point will listen to this snapshot, this object, and it will go ahead and call the API of the storage to get the different source snapshot, and then post the result on the status here. At that point, the backup controller will see the list of all the blocks that have been changed. Then it will, instead of backup all the block, it will only backup the block that have been changed. So that is, and after that, it will, of course, it will delete the the PVC because it doesn't the block PVC, but it doesn't use it anymore, and then it will delete the volume snapshot object, and it also delete the CBT object here. It delete it all, and done with the backup. I have done a small experiment to convert from the file PVC to a block PVC using the snapshot. So what I did is I take this file PVC, I create a volume snapshot from it, and after I have the volume snapshot have is mapped to the volume snapshot content. And in that volume snapshot content, you're gonna have the handler of the back end of the snapshot in the back end. At that point, then I wrap that handler, and I will create a new snapshot from it. And then I will create the new PVC. The source of the data source of the PVC is this new snapshot, the new block snapshot. And at that point, I have a block PVC. When I have a block PVC, then I can mount that block PVC to any data mover as a raw block device. So that is the data path. I done some experiment, but I did not get all the way yet. So a lot more work still needs to be done.
Hey, Fong, just a quick question. So is this backup controller essential to prove out the CBT prototype? Feels like
No,
it's expanding like the scope of the prototype a little bit.
it only illustrates that it can be done. It's not essential to because the thing that essential is this one.
Right, right.
It is controller and the CRD here. You see the main piece.
Yep.
This one is just an effort to tie together a workflow that illustrates that this CBT can be done.
Okay. For what it's worth, if you want to show like the data path workflow, end-to-end workflow,
Yeah.
you can
Well,
just
like
put together a diagram of some sort. I think you have something like that previously.
yeah. I think it would be nice. Yeah, maybe I would work on that diagram. I think we do have a diagram already. It's just I do not have it on top of my. I do not put it in this document. Yeah.
Is that in that white paper? You have
Yeah, it
something
should be in the
that
white paper.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, in the white paper, we post a diagram of this workflow here, but again, that diagram doesn't specify the diagram we have um, in the white paper do not specify this use of CRD. It's just calling the CBT service in general.
Got it. Thanks.
Okay, just show the, I have that page up, so can show that. This is the one.
Yep, that's it. Yeah, and you can see there's a block called differential snapshot service, right?
So this is your what the controller that you are talking about.
Yeah. Right now it's just a block right there on that diagram. We need to expand that block to a little bit more detail. But again, we still in research mode, we still in try mode, so we haven't concrete on that one yet. So. Okay, that's it for me.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks for driving this long. There's a lot of work here. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's a contribution for many people.
So for the aggregated service, so we're saying we still need to, we haven't really go through that one yet, right? Because
yeah, we need more people who know much about aggravation API.
Okay. All right.
I actually personally I do not know.
Yeah.
So I heard that some of the engineer who will participate in our next meeting will know about that.
Okay.
But let's see.
Yeah, so this is Dave. So over at Kasten, Kasten's actually been using aggregated APIs a fair amount. So we wanted to contribute on that part, and we'll get with Sean because he had the original proposal as well.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, just see how that would help solve this concern over the size of the change blocks.
Yeah, so from what I understand about it is just that it will not save the object on the Kubernetes API server, but it's saved on another server. And how we manipulate that it would be the detail that I do not know.
Okay, so basically then in that case, then the CRD that we have that would still be the same CRDs, or the CRD itself needs to be redesigned.
So
I have no idea yet.
Okay.
So we haven't fleshed it out fully,
Okay.
but the concept we were having was to take the change block list out of the status and
Okay.
instead have more like a cookie that points
Okay.
to a set of change block resources. And those change block resources would be provided by the aggregated API server and pretty much generated on demand by calling CSI. If that makes any sense. So,
okay.
And then the advantage of that, we haven't actually figured out exactly how to do it yet, but the general concept is that then pagination is just handled by the Kubernetes pagination API for iterating over lists of objects.
Mhm.
And so then it becomes a little, it's not quite so imperative. The API looks less imperative driven. And we should be able to take all of that stuff out of the etcd, but it's still accessible via the regular Kubernetes APIs. So it doesn't add like a different API to talk to, but it runs through the aggregated API server
Okay.
instead.
So basically, you'll probably have a new Kubernetes API resource that represents the changed blocks, but instead
Yes.
of putting that into status, it's a separate API object, something like that.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And then there's an aggregated API server that serves
That
those
handles that.
objects.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right.
Yeah, and to add to that, from the request perspective, like we're aiming for like not too drastic changes between different approaches. Like, going back to Fang's example, whether it is, like parameters like the snapshot base, snapshot target, like those will still be required. So it's just a matter of like the extra, like, you might recall like all the pagination parameters, like offset, max size, those maybe, we are hoping to utilize the Kubernetes list request mechanism, but otherwise the differential parameters, but we're aiming to not disrupt those too much from a request perspective.
Okay, sounds good. Hey, thanks.
So I had a question there. Is there a concern with using normal API server that the change list will be too big for storing in the cluster etcd?
So Fang, I think you have some data, right? Why don't you show the data?
Yeah, so I can it's not really big, but it you guys can see it here, right? So I do some calculation and I saying that once 1.5 megabyte, which is the size limit of the objects of the CID object, 1.5 megabyte, we can potentially have about 98,000 chain block, just the metadata of the chain block, right? This is not, cast on stone, because if the chain block itself contain the context, which might be many bytes. Let me show you the API that we have, and it might have a context. That context field, we don't know exactly how many bytes that one has. What is it? Right here, this context, we don't know how many bytes that context has. Is a vendor specific. But if we just take the size of the offsets and the size of the the size and the bool and the zero and this field, then approximately for each CR we can contain 98,000 metadata block, which is, I think, which be very substantial. I mean, for the difference between two volume, if we can capture that 98,000, and beside, I mean, if there's a lot more than that, then it might be just better, just just back up the whole volume, right? So that's why that's just some data that I have here, and I've done some calculation too. Like if the block size is very small, like 512, then it's not much, right? It's 98, it's just about 48 megabytes. It's not really impressive. But if the block is big, like 2 megabyte block, then this one can, the metadata that can describe 192 gigabyte, right? On top of that, Dave also mentioned many ways we can combine. For example, if subsequent, I mean, the block that lie next to each other, we can combine them into one block, right? We change the size. We can simply say, the size is equal to the total size of these blocks that stand next to each other. So we don't have to map one-on-one between this chain block and the physical block. but one chain block can be, multiple chain block, multiple block on the physical volume that is lying next to each other. Again, the size here, because we have this size here, so we can express this in terms of the size of multiple multiple physical block. This is a variable size. So
yeah, I think the fact that the the responses are unbounded in sizes are definitely worrisome and concerning, and hence we're putting a lot of thoughts into how to mitigate that. And I wish there is a cookie cutter way to say, oh, implement this and all will be fixed, right? So it feels like there have to be multiple approaches to it. I read somewhere that I guess fundamentally the goal is the first goal is if we can avoid storing it in SCD, that will be great. And hence all these talks around pagination, aggregation, API, stuff like that. And if we really have to store it, then I think someone's making suggestions about some sort of auto garbage collection mechanism somewhere in the Slack channel. So the way I look at it is there will be multiple approaches and things need to be implemented to mitigate the unbounded sizes.
I agree on that, because for each we already have a timeout here, right? And for each of the response, we can put a timeout here, and after a certain timeout, we can clean up the object. It is one way, right? So like I said, there like he just mentioned, there's multiple approach to this to avoid having too many objects or too many things on the API server.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, until we have some sort of working prototype, it's really hard to I guess tell everyone this is exactly how we're going to solve it. That kind of thing.
Yeah, well, one of the reasons why I was bringing that question up is even if we use aggregated API server, that API server needs an etcd to back whatever we are posting there, right? So I was wondering if we are just moving the problem space of putting it in a cluster etcd to putting it in a different etcd, which is solved by the aggregated API server.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point, right? But I guess with the reason with aggregated API / custom API server is because so that we have control over that front. If we look at the matrix server, if we look at some of the service mesh solutions out there, they have aggregated API server that don't necessarily store things into etcd as they work with and handle and manipulate the resources objects there. So it may kind of going back to what Dave was saying earlier, it might become a more that balance between a declarative versus an imperative kind of invocation method.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there are definitely aggregated API servers out there that don't store everything into etcd. But yes, etcd will be a core thing in there, even with a custom API server. That's kind of what the SDK is going to ask you. When you write the Go code, it was going to ask you which etcd are you going to point to, But
well, hold on. So for the aggregated API server backing the change block list, it doesn't need to store a copy of it. It can go to the CSI driver and just ask for things on demand. And that was, I think, what we were thinking of doing. So it wouldn't actually read it all, store it someplace, and then serve it. It just, whenever it gets a request for certain types of change blocks, it goes and asks the CSI driver for them using the API that's defined.
Yeah.
That makes more sense.
Yeah, everyone agrees on that, I think, at this point. I think it's just at the code level. We can talk about it when we get there, but part of the API server, library, they're gonna ask for references to etcd. Whether you use it or not is a different thing, but as part of the setup and bootstrapping the API server, it's gonna ask you for an etcd path, but we don't have to use it.
Well, it's an API server path, not an etcd path.
We can talk about that.
Yeah,
let's talk about it later.
Yeah, so etcd isn't really exposed out to the user, I don't think, through the Kubernetes API server. We have an API server API that happens to be backed by etcd, but that's not, etcd is not really required.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I feel like we're talking about different levels of things here, but like let's pop that aside. I think we can all agree that the goal here is to not store anything in etcd.
Yeah, we can talk about that in a separate meeting.
Found also it's good to write that in the cap, like the reason. Let's say if we decide to go with this aggregated API server, what are the reasons? You know, the whatever you have on that Slack, you know, the calculation you did. I think those are all helpful.
Yeah, when we decide, right now we're still in explore.
Yeah, even those
Definitely.
are like even if like alternatives or things like that, we also
Yeah.
want to capture all of those.
I agree.
Okay, yeah. Thank you. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so I just want to share this one quickly. So this one is ready. If you guys want to take a look and provide feedback, and then we will submit a PR to get this merged. Basically just talk about what we did last year, right? So we have the, you know, the white paper and the caps and the work that are not in a cap yet. You know, we have CBT, we talked about things. So basically I went through our agenda, just captured things that we have been doing in the working group. And yeah, you can take a look offline and comments. Okay, so now there's a question here from Ansha. Do you understand the high level what is status container notify cap? So that one, yeah, so Shanti and I need to talk about it and then see how we address those comments, because we thought we have addressed those, but then but definitely there are reviewers who still think there are concerns that are not addressed. So we just need to go back to that and think about how to address those comments. Those are not very straightforward. That's why we did not get to that immediately. So, but we do need to get back to that. Do you have more? Do you have more comments?
No, thanks. Just wanted to know what's going on there.
Oh, I also want to. I also want to ask you. So I know that we do that because we want to be able to quiesce the application. This is
Right.
from our point of view.
Okay.
Is there any other use case? So for example, right now, right, that is of course a better solution. It's more like Kubernetes native. It's more secure. Without that, currently you could do that using hooks, right?
Right.
Yeah, I just want to understand: is there any additional requirement?
No, from my end, there's no additional requirement. I've been following this since a while back, and just wanted to know where this is. I think we had another spec earlier where we had a hook action framework and all those things. So, but it has been a while, like around 2.5 years, I believe, since those things started. And we don't have anything going there. So
yeah, we have up and downs. That's what I just say. Yeah. So this one, yeah, I think this is not part of the content notifier cap is part of Signode, right? So it's pretty hard to get anything in Signode, and also this is actually a pretty big one. So we need to address their concerns. Yeah, we just need to think about how to address those, because you know, we thought it's addressed, but maybe it's not, right? So there's still some things that we need to sort out. Yeah, there was an API review question that I'm still trying to figure out how to address that. So yeah, so that's why. Yeah, but we will get back to that.
Okay, sure. Thanks. Thank you. Yeah, thanks for that.
Okay. The next one, okay, so you have a question on the next release of the external snapshotter. Right, so that change got merged, and then I think there were like a couple bugs resulting from that. Yeah, so those are fixed now. So I want to, I'm checking with the person who discovered the, the additional bug by that urgent fix, just to see if things are running fine on their side. Because I don't want to release something and then something is, something else is broken. I fix one thing but break something else.
Right.
So now so normally we do release after every Kubernetes release. So like after 1.24 release, we normally, like a few weeks after that, we will be doing a snapshot release. So that will be, when's the GA date for? Is that I think the 19th of April, right? So probably like beginning of May, that definitely we will have a new release. That's for sure. I was just thinking, do we need to do a patch release on on the stable branches? I was just thinking when to do that, because we actually just did one in January. So it's a little too soon, I feel. I would just, normally we probably want to do that maybe like every quarter or something.
No, I understand, but like this is kind of a major bug in some sense, I'll say that. So it would be better as soon as we get this out.
Right. But there's also, it's not like, I mean, it's been there for quite a long time. And also looks like it only happens in this one particular scenario. That is when you submit a create snapshot request that is on a invalid volume. Sometimes
I mean, most of the failure scenarios, it gets triggered. So we have been facing this, and I think it did not get caught till now because not a lot of people were using it. So I mean, that's what I think.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I would just. Okay. Yeah, we could consider cutting that earlier. I just want to make sure that we're not using additional bugs. Yeah. That's why I want to be a little bit cautious.
Yeah, I completely understand.
Especially, have you been testing the master branch, the code with this?
It's slightly not that easy for me to get that set up.
Yeah, that was the reason. That's why I'm a little hesitant. So that's why I'm asking the person who actually discovered the bug in that bug fix, just to see if they're fine with it. If they're fine with it, then maybe we can. So which is the, okay, so I was thinking, so we could cut a patch release in the 5.0 and maybe possibly in the 4.x branches. If this is, I think this is a problem that has been there since the beginning. So maybe the 4. Which release are you using currently?
I'll need to check. I think it's probably the latest cut. I'm not aware what our platform is using today.
I'm thinking probably
makes sense. We can get that published, I believe.
Yeah, I was thinking probably makes sense to cut a release for all the stable branches, but like for the 4.0, I think we just recently cut a patch release, but we'll see. So yeah, maybe it still makes sense, right? So if we want to release this on 5.0, maybe also makes sense to release this on 5.x or something. Okay, I'll see.
Got it. Thank you. Thanks for addressing that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for bringing this up. All right. So that's all I have here. Do you have anything else? Anyone have any other issues you want to discuss here? So I think we already talked about the removal, I think last time, right? So the decision is to do removal. So we have already notified the SIG release, so that will be included in the deprecation removal blog. Right, so. All right. So if you don't have any other topic, then that's it for today. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.